Oh, hey everybody, glad you're with us here. It's Sunday and it's a long weekend in the United States. Canadian long weekend was last weekend. Notice anything different? Hey, 10 weeks later, Zach gets his hair cut. I've never wanted a haircut so much in my life. So yeah, Friday afternoon, I finally got my haircut. And so the good news is in British Columbia, we are opening up a little bit earlier than other parts of Canada due to the fact that our COVID-19 cases are really quite low, some of the lowest per capita in North America. So pretty happy about that. All right, a couple of things. First of all, just want to let you know Car Cost Canada is the sponsor of the channel. If you are looking for a new car, maybe somebody in your family is looking for a new car, the deals are going to be amazing. I'm seeing pretty much from most manufacturers 0% interest rates, 90 days, no payments, waived payments, all kinds of special deals coming down. So I think we're going to see even more of that, and it's going to be interesting to watch. All right, what else did I want to get to? All right, let's do our pictures. So if you want to get your picture on the live show, feel free to send them to me. It's Zach at motormouth.ca. That's ZACK at motormouth.ca. I'll speak American for you. That's ZACK, not CH, or else it won't get to me. .ca. That's Zach at motormouth.ca. All right, first up we have Simon from Vancouver Island. So he sent some pictures of cars and coffee. This was pre-COVID. So there is his Intermechanica Speedster on the bottom right. Cool looking Lotus on the top and the red one, and then another Lotus, a Super 7 below that. I'm guessing over on Vancouver Island there's probably quite a few British cars. It seems to be very British. And here is Ranbir, I hope I say it right, with his C300. That's a great car. New C-Class is going to be coming, probably is in the next 12 months. Natish is next. Natish has a nice looking Accord. This is probably a high mark for me in terms of design and the way it drives. I think this generation of Accord is an excellent car. Next up is Richard from Chestermere, Alberta, with his Passat. Then we have Jim Bell, and he's got two cars. On the right is his GTI manual transmission. That's his daily, and then the wife's daily on the left. That's a Pilot EXL, which is the one that I always suggest people buy because it doesn't come with the 9-speed automatic. It comes with the 6-speed, so well chosen there, my friend. And below that, then we have Alex. As you know, Alex in Israel sent me this picture. He said Audi e-trons in Israel, they've sold 1,250 Audi e-trons. They've only sold 7 I-Paces. So that's the Jaguar I-Pace full electric car, but he had a ride in it, said the torque and the speed is amazing. The infotainment screen, not very good, but yeah, they're not selling very well. And that's an opportunity for a lease, a really good lease. I think Jag will probably have amazing incentives on that car pretty much around the world. So if you're looking for an electric car, lease it, please, to make sure you know that you're going to get out of it with a certain amount of money. All right, so we have 2 video questions today. Speaking of Alex, is always contributing nicely to the channel, and I thank you for that. So here's Alex's question.
Hey Zach, we finally finished the heat wave. It's not 45 degrees anymore. It's like 20 degrees, very windy, and heavy rain this morning as well. And my question for today's video question is, what do you think about the latest IIHS crash test on the Jeep Wrangler? I know you always thought it's a great car for traveling in the nature and the off-roading, and take the doors off, the windscreen off, the roof off. It's very nice and funny car. But the thing is, to go to the nature or to do awesome off-roading, you have to go through some roads, of course. And the rating is really, really bad. Your thoughts? Thank you.
Okay, Alex, thank you for the question. And yeah, you do make a good point. Just on the May 8th, I believe it was, IIHS released a video of the Wrangler with the offset crash test. So they run into a barricade with just the front end of the vehicle being impacted, and the Wrangler rolled on its side. Now, as he pointed out, this is a sort of purpose-built off-road vehicle, and there are very few like it. I mean, Toyota used to have the FJ Cruiser, Mercedes has the G-Wagon, and Jeep has Wrangler, so it has to do multi-purpose. Now, I'm not going to make any excuses for Jeep, and I do like Jeep products, and I think the Wrangler really stands alone as a vehicle that can do everything, drive on the road, and the new one is much better than the old Wrangler when it comes to comfort and on-road. But this vehicle hasn't been getting good crash ratings because it didn't come with the available forward collision warning autonomous braking suite of equipment, but they're adding that in. And this offset crash really is disheartening, but it's a body-on-frame truck. And when you look at the video, and I encourage you to do it, look up Jeep Wrangler crash test and you'll find it, and put in IIHS and you'll see it. The crash goes right along where the rail of the frame is, and then it catches and then rolls over. I'm not a crash expert, but it's, I think, probably pretty hard to do a body-on-frame truck that's going to absorb a crash the same way a unibody vehicle will. So anyway, I don't really have the answer for you, Alex. I think it's good that you pointed it out. Hey, we have another video question. This one is from Brian Betancourt, who also goes by Portuguese Water Dog here in the comments.
Hey Zach, just want to say hi. Thank you again for all the live shows, and hope everyone out there is being safe. My question today is regarding automatic transmissions and those that have manual mode, be it with paddle shifters or where you can knock it over into the plus minus. I guess my question is, I've always been very reluctant to use the manual mode, as I'm worried I might screw something up with the transmission. So your thoughts on that?
So what he's asking is, using the manual override for an automatic transmission, is that going to harm the transmission? And if you're doing it every single time you drive, it might be more wear on the transmission. But if you're only using it every now and again, it's not really going to do anything for it's not going to harm the transmission. All you're doing is, instead of a computer telling the transmission to shift gears, you're doing it manually. So the effect on the transmission might be slightly higher loads on the transmission because the revs could be higher. But the transmission is designed to be able to take those loads, basically the weight, the torque, and the horsepower of your engine and your car. So it shouldn't really affect the transmission. The transmission's job is to shift gears up and down. All you're doing with the paddle shifters is sending a manual signal to the transmission versus a computer doing it automatically. The one worry one might have is over-revving the engine. But most of these, almost all of them, will not let you go down too low a gear, and then you have a rev limiter on the engine as well, so you can't over rev the engine. You can get into trouble with some cars by shifting into neutral or reverse by mistake, but not with the paddle shifters. So if you have a vehicle with paddle shifters, you're probably going to use them infrequently, and if you do use them infrequently and for some fun as you're driving through some twisty roads, it's not going to hurt the car in any way at all. All right. You know what's interesting? Do you remember last week, or the last show, I said it showed there was only like 27 people on board? Something going on with Google's dashboard for their live shows, but there you go. Wow, we got lots of people piling on here. Okay, let's get to the questions. How do you think the Kia Forte 5 GT favors to the Volkswagen GTI? What stands out for you? Compelling value proposition. So I haven't driven the Kia Forte 5 GT. However, I have driven the Hyundai Elantra N-Line, their GT, their hatchback. So it's basically the same setup, right? Same engine. And you can watch my review of that. So the Elantra, what's it called? The Elantra Sport Hatch, whatever the hell it's called. The N-Line version of it. And I said that it isn't as polished and refined as the GTI. The GTI, and most people know I refer to them as like Audi Light. I think that it has a much more polished feel to it. They've been doing it a long time. It has a much more supple suspension, not meaning that it's soft, just meaning that it absorbs the road better. So what they did with these cars is they just made the suspension stiffer to give you that sort of real sporty feel. But Volkswagen does it, but also making it compliant over big bumps. I thoroughly enjoyed driving it, and in my review I said if it's just a budget consideration, there's absolutely no shame in buying either the Forte GT or the Elantra version of these cars and not getting a GTI, because the GTI is much more money, like quite a bit more money. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, I think they did a very good job with those cars. Sam B, do you know if the Audi A3 S3 will be coming as a hatchback? I have not got confirmation one way or the other. We do know that they're coming. Last time around it was as a sedan only, and the hatch was for the e-tron. E-tron will be coming back as well, so we'll have to wait and see. No information on that. Haircut looks good, thank you. Dallas Car Wash Channel, what are your thoughts on the Volvo XC60? I like the XC60. I prefer the XC40. And you know what? If you're in the dealership and you take the XC60 out for a drive, try the XC40. It's really not that much smaller, but I think there's a whole lot more value in that vehicle than the XC60. There's nothing wrong with it at all. But I really enjoyed the XC40, and I think that probably the XC40 and the new Q3 are the two vehicles to beat in that class. So if you need that extra space and it isn't that much bigger, then go for the XC60. What dealer manufacturer offers employee pricing? Is it a gimmick? I would think real employee pricing would be close to cost, or at least lower than what is made available to the public. I've asked this question, and the answer I get is no. When they're doing employee pricing. Now, there are maybe some special leases and things that employees get when they choose a car, but I've been told that no, it's pretty close to what they get. Hey Zach, what is the next watch you're interested in purchasing? This is from Mo. So a little off topic, but yeah, I'm into wristwatches. And that's as expensive as cars. Not as expensive, but can be. I have a few on my hit list. I have a basic Oyster Perpetual 39mm in black. The simple, cleanest, nicest, everyday daily driver watch is a Rolex Oyster Perpetual 39 in black. That's one. Another one is the JLC Master Compressor GMT is another one. Yeah, those are two. Of the cars you have owned in the past, which ones do you think you still own? For me, it's a 2003 350Z or Z, F-150, a 997-2 Turbo. Well, Raj, the 997-2 Turbo is the one, that, in my opinion, of that bunch that got away. Somebody asked on a live show recently, they said if you could pick sort of not air-cooled 911, but of a modern era used, what would you look for? I would look for a 997-2 Turbo last year for the manual transmission, which I believe was around 2010. That is the unicorn for me. If I could find a 997 Turbo, that would be fantastic. Which ones have I owned that I can list a lot of the cars that I loved. I had a 5 Series BMW station wagon from the early 90s, an E34 wagon. I love that car. I had an E38 7 Series BMW, the James Bond one, silver with the M-parallel wheels. I love that car. Wasn't reliable. My 2 air-cooled 911s were fantastic. Both of them were 993s. Those were great cars. And I've had a bunch of Volkswagen vans that have been pretty cool. But if I had to choose any one of those that I could buy and keep long term, I think it would probably be the air-cooled 911s. Any news on the 2021 Iihs 500, rumored to have one last run at the 5-liter naturally aspirated V8? Hey, I don't know. I don't have any information on that. I do have an Iihs 350 booked coming up. I thought it was supposed to be in June, but I guess I hadn't booked it, so it's now in July, but it is booked now. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Iihs is very long in the tooth. Somebody actually pointed this out, and I hadn't really thought about it until they pointed it out, saying that the Lexus lineup is really quite dated. I mean, they have a lot of older cars now, like the RX has been out for a while, the NX has been out for a while, the Iihs is the newest, a car that doesn't really sell that well. The Iihs, as you mentioned, is really quite old. They have a lot of sort of, the GS apparently from what I hear is going away. LS is a few years old, so yeah. It seems that they're focusing more on Toyota. Well, somebody says, DJ Pleasure Seeking Missile, looking good, Zach. Cheers with a Stella Artois. Let me see if Jack's here. Hey, Jack. Yeah. Beer o'clock, please. All right. Thanks, brother. Either one, a Peroni or a Beck's. He's going to get me a beer. So, can you open it? What? Open it too. It's good having kids. Gordon Freeman, will people hoard small cars because public transit is not popular? Well, I think there is a theory out there that as, you know, we're going through the summer months and kids aren't in school and university students aren't going to school and, you know, a lot of people are working from home, but businesses are going to start to evolve and bring people back. There could be a move. And the other thing is, you know what's really taken off? You know what has absolutely exploded in sales and you have to wait weeks to get serviced? Bicycles. People are getting back on their bikes, buying bicycles and riding their bike. Well, because it's now heading into summer and the weather's good. So that's all great. But what happens when we head into the fall when the weather gets crappy? People are going to think, geez, do I really want to be on a subway? And say we have a second wave of COVID-19 come in the fall. There's a theory that, you know, used cars could be quite sought after as people look to minimize their expenses. Now, there is an opportunity also for some car companies, and this is what I would do. I would be marketing those little small hatchbacks like the Toyota Yaris, you know, like Toyota really sharpen their pencil on that, and these little sort of hatchbacks that you can lease for a small amount of money, that would be a good way to go too. Is Nissan going to make SER Spec V version of the Sentra now that the car looks good? I would sure hope so. I haven't heard anything. I mean, typically what happens with a product introduction. Hey, Jack.
Put the line in
Oh, a Rona. How come you chose this?
Because there weren't many left.
Of the what?
Corona.
Oh,
Well,
thanks.
upstairs at one of the time.
Okay, thank you. That's good. Lime and everything. Well played, sir. That's why it took so long. He got me a lime. Nice. I guess he's back in the will. Cheers, everybody. Here's to Sunday night. Hope you're doing well. It's a cool little community, friendship group that we've all created here, so I'm glad that you're here. So cheers. It's the subscriber sip. If you're watching this after live, because most people watching now are also obviously subscribers, please subscribe. That is good. So typically what happens with a vehicle cadence is they bring out the base model, then they bring out the specialty models later. But we drove the Sentra. The video went live yesterday. I really like this car. They did a really, really good job. I went into it thinking, Sentra, does anybody even care anymore? And then I drove it, and after about 10 minutes, I'm like, holy crap, they got a lot right with this car. All the comments about Sentra, about the CVT, people are just hating on Nissan and their CVT, and for good reason. They haven't been reliable. What do you think of the new upfront pricing sales models from the likes of Tesla and Genesis? Well, there is a lot of research that shows that people hate dickering and dealing with dealerships on cars. They just hate it. So I think that will really appeal to a certain segment of the market where it's just one price, you buy it, and you don't have to dicker with the dealer, salesman, the sales manager, all of that kind of stuff. So I think that there is going to be a certain segment of the market that just appreciates that. And the good thing is it's easy for these people to introduce discounts and say, oh, COVID-19 special, $2,000-$3,000 off the car, but there's no negotiating after the fact. There's a large, like the studies that come out about buying habits of consumers, they hate the whole buying process of a car. John Espanol, great work, Zach. Your thoughts on a base 992 Carrera, if it's worth going to the Carrera S. I am a little handicapped on this one because I have only driven the Carrera S. I haven't driven the base model. But all I can tell you is with the 991, when they went to all turbocharged engines, the base model cars were very, very good. Like I remember driving, for example, the Carrera T, the lightweight version that they came out with, the special edition in the last year or so, and I was like totally enamored with that. I think that that's worth asking the dealer to let you drive one. Because they're turbocharged, they can really make up for the lack of displacement and things that they've done. Well, the engines are the same size, but you know what I'm saying. Like they do stagger the power on them, but that previous 991 version I thought was fantastic. So I've only driven the 992S. I do have a cabriolet coming in July, but we'll have to wait. By the way, that is a super chat if you want to get a super chat in. You know, the people sending videos in for the video chats, they're smart because they get their questions answered first. But if you want to get your question answered, where you type in, you'll see the little $sign there. You can type in there and pay a small amount to the channel. Appreciate that. And also get your questions answered. Who's saying, Jorge is saying, it is good having kids. My 11-year-old can open a wine bottle better than most sommeliers. Beers on me. Cheers, brother. I will cheers to that. No, I'm really the only cork guy in the house to open the wine bottles. My wife, it's funny because if I go out and she's having some girlfriends over, I usually leave wine in the fridge that has a twist top, like white wine, right? And I hate those bunny ears. I like a sommelier traditional corkscrew. That's what I like. Man, that's tasting good. I'm gonna go down and see if I missed anything here. Hey, how many people are on the thing right now? This is only showing me 27. So if you could chat away, that would be good. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, and their live platform is not very stable these days. What are your thoughts on the new Targa? Looks amazing. Red roof on black. Hey, listen. You know, the famous line from Hurley Haywood is the winningest endurance racer of all time, mostly in Porsches, if not all Porsches. And you ask Hurley, what's your favorite Porsche? And he always says the next one. And it's true. I mean, I will say this about the 992. I think they absolutely nailed the proportions, the wheels. It's the best looking 911 since the 993, which was the last air-cooled 911. Now, if you're not a Porsche nerd, you're probably thinking, what the hell is he even talking about? So every model of 911 has a sort of a code number, and the brand new one that just came out last year is called the 992. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. The latest version of that. What I thought that was a Caterham. No, I think it was this. It could have been a Lotus Super 7. It's the same car, but just with a different name. Used truck prices have jumped since the lockdown. The part of the market that is still moving are trucks. And there's some amazing deals on trucks. And I think that people who can buy a truck are buying them. It seems to be that that's the part of the market that is certainly moving. And that's good because for domestic brands especially, that's where they make all of their money. Not all of it, but the vast majority of money. This is a very good question. Hi, Zach. How much does resale value influence your car purchase decision? Heavily, heavily, heavily. For me, resale value is one of the most important things. So, and the good news is a lot of the cars that I like have good resale value. So my Carreras, my 911s, all held their value. In fact, the last one I had went up in value, substantially up in value. So very, very, very rare for cars to go up in value. My 5 Series BMW, I owned it for 5 or 6 years. I think I sold it for $7,000 less than I paid for it. The worst depreciating one was our 7 Series. It depreciated like $1,000 a month. It was just horrible. So yeah, if you can find a car that is unique and different, and there will always be a market for it, then you're going to be better off. Like a car, even in a line of cars, if you have one that has a unique sort of feature or something that is not common, that will typically hold its value better. But for me, it's vitally important. I've told this story many times on the channel. We bought our first Cayenne in '08, and we drove it for 6 years. And between what we paid for it and what we sold it for, worked out to $330 a month. And just incredible to drive a Porsche Cayenne. I mean, you couldn't lease an Accord for that kind of money. Now, there were other expenses, of course, like maintenance is more expensive and what have you. But yeah, if you buy right, and you can often do pretty well on cars. I found a 2020 F-250 with 20-inch rims and not standard 18. Will this make the truck ride rough or no difference? It will be the wife's daily. I don't think there'd be much difference in it. I mean, first of all, the F-250 is a heavy-duty truck. That's a Super Duty. I would suggest that you drive it first. Absolutely drive it first. And here's the other thing is, if you absolutely hate it, I mean, you're going to be easy to find 18-inch rims and tires for that truck. Now, that's an extra expense, but I would suggest on that, suspension with that much travel on it, probably wouldn't be that noticeable. And it also depends on where you're driving it. Are you driving it on pavement? It'll probably be fine. Now, try it. Try it first. That's the best way to find out. Charlottetown Spud, good to see you, my friend, from PEI. So if I was to move on from my Civic Type R, what car would you recommend that is a little more subtle looking, but will still give the same sort of performance and feel? Thanks. Well, that's a tough one. And I do agree with you. In my review of the Civic Type R, I said I couldn't drive around with that big wing on the back. I think it's just sort of ridiculous. I would, for me, I mean, I just think it just, for my age, being 28 and everything, I would say probably the Focus RS would be pretty close in terms of just fun. But there's nothing really current that I would consider, like a Golf R would not feel nearly the same. I would say maybe an RS3. An RS3 with that inline 5-cylinder engine is going to be much more polished feeling, but all-wheel drive and just looks like a really nice looking German sedan, but a lot more money. But you might be able to find one used. Genesis seems to be bringing out amazing design lately. Do you see it ever overcoming German brands? No. Here's the thing is, when you buy a luxury item, okay, you're not just buying the features. Like, I'll give you an example. Heated seats, heated steering wheel, sunroof, folding outside mirrors, backup camera, cruise control, full safety suite, leather, perforated seats. You know what car I'm talking about? A Kia Rio, right? A sedan. Now that is not a luxury car, but those are all luxury elements. What you pay for with luxury is the brand affiliation. Why do women pay a fortune for a Louis Vuitton bag or a Chanel purse? There are other bags and purses that can, fulfill that need, but it's the name and the heritage that has a lot to do with it. So all of these brands, Mercedes-Benz, that star on the front and that over 100 years of heritage being the first car company and the dedication to that pursuit by them adds up to something. So yes, Genesis has amazing features. If you go feature by feature, design, looks good, all those sorts of things. But to a lot of people, there's no emotional connection with the brand yet. That might take a long, long time. For example, Lexus now, with being in the market, when did they come in? 89? So was it, yeah, it's 30 years now. They've been in the marketplace. They have an affinity in the market now. People look at Lexus a certain way. Infiniti, on the other hand, they basically took their running start and they lost it. I mean, they didn't do anything with it. And that's a brand that's, you know, arguably lost its way. Lexus has a reputation for reliability and all those sorts of things. So what, now if Genesis can continue to have home run after home run after home run, they will be known as a brand that offers a lot of value and content to rival those brands, but you're never going to replace heritage. When you, like, you know, I'm into watches. If you buy a Rolex watch, there are lots of other automatic timepieces that will tell time to the same level. Like this, I'm wearing an Omega today. I have an Omega Seamaster. An Omega Seamaster, arguably, technically, is a better watch than a Rolex Submariner. But which one do people want? They want the Rolex. It's all about heritage. Same with cars. Do you foresee small compact cars, compact trucks? Let me see here. What? I've lost it here. I apologize. Do you foresee small compact trucks with the rumor of the Ford Maverick miss cool car trucks like the Subaru Baja? Not a big market for that. I don't think so. I think that the car companies have realized that the sort of mid-sized Ranger, Tacoma, Canyon in Colorado is really sort of the sweet spot. I think there's always going to be a space for a small, cool, fun truck like you're talking about, but it's not that big. There's a market, but it's not a big market. Mike Shaw, nice to have you here, Mike. FYI, 160th viewing now. All things being equal, how much do you believe total kilometers impact car resale value? Thanks again for live shows. I think that there's a psychological barrier to 100,000 kilometers for whatever reason. It doesn't make any sense because in the United States, that's 60 miles, 60,000 miles. But there's a psychological barrier to 100,000 kilometers. Now, there's some justification for that because quite a few cars at 100,000 kilometers, one of the main service items is to have the timing belt changed. Now, that's not the end of the world, but it is something as you get towards 100,000, for a lot of four-cylinder cars, the timing belt needs to be changed. So that's a psychological barrier. And I would suggest that there is a major barrier for kilometers. Just let me look at your question again. How much do you believe total kilometers impacts resale value? Yeah, kilometers is one of the major deciding factors. Obviously, age of the car. You can find two cars that are 5 years old and one has 20,000 kilometers on it and the other one has 120,000 kilometers on it. Well, the one with 120,000 kilometers is a lot less. So it is a big impact. You have to look at a car. My friend Dennis DeRosier explained this to me. He's Canada's leading auto analyst, and I've interviewed him many, many times for my radio show here in Vancouver that he used to have. And he says he looks at a car as a bucket of miles. Okay, maybe not a sort of prestige antique 911, but when you're buying a new car, like a Civic or a Pilot or whatever it is, it has a bucket of miles. And after a while, the bucket starts to deplete to the point where, oh, I got to replace this with another new car. So what you're doing is when you're buying a car is you're buying the available kilometers that are left in that bucket. So the more kilometers that have been used, the value goes down. Pierre says, great haircut. Still waiting for the barber to open in Quebec, June 1st. Well, I tell you what, circle it on your calendar. I've never had a hair appointment this far out, and it was nice to get in there. Hey, Zach, when are you coming to Nelson, BC to test some vehicles on our beautiful roads? Yeah, one day. It's a beautiful part of the world. It absolutely is. I have driven through with my Volkswagen Westphalia. We fit right in Nelson, let me tell you. When you drive through Nelson, British Columbia in a Volkswagen Westphalia, you fit right in. Hey, Zach, have you had a chance to drive the Audi RS Q8? And what was your thoughts on it? Yes, there is a video on the RS Q8, and I encourage you to go and watch it. I was hoping to be more wowed by it, to be honest with you. It felt like a well-made large luxury SUV made by Audi. It didn't feel like, you're holding on to this lion and you're getting bucked around, and it didn't feel like that at all. It was actually really quite the opposite. It was very smooth and refined and very Audi. When you dialed all of the settings up to the most aggressive, you could really kind of wake the engine up and the suspension and all of that. But even then, it didn't quite feel as visceral as I had hoped. So I think this is done intentionally. You have the Lamborghini up here using the same platform, and you have the Porsche Cayenne here, and then in the middle you have Audi. Excuse me. So they have different envelopes of what they're trying to achieve for their customers. So the Lamborghini is that raw, more visceral, engaging, bumpy. That's what they wanted for that car. Audi they wanted it to be a 365-day-a-year car that just happened to have a huge engine under the hood. So that's hopefully the best way I can describe it. It's fast, sounds good, it does all of that. It just didn't have the excitement I was hoping for. Loved your video on the 2020 Nissan Sentra. I think it's a good car to buy in comparison to the regular Corolla and Civic. I think, they had a mission with this car was to come back with a big bang. And I'm telling you, they did a very good job. It looks great on the outside. The inside is really nice. It drives really well. The suspension, it's got independent rear suspension. It handles well, it's quiet. They improved the head unit, that's better now. The big question mark is the reliability of the CVT, and I think that's what they have to get. A lot of comments on the video said, why don't they just invest in a good 8 or 9-speed automatic? And then all those people that hate on the CVT will have nothing to complain about, and it is a good point. Subscriber sip. Oh, we got another super chat coming in. Oh, Charlottetown Spud, funny you suggested the RS3. I've been looking at an RS3 as a possible replacement for the Type R. Would the RS3 be a car to consider? With the S3? Yeah, the S3 is a nice car. But you just have to think of the Golf R, okay? When I always talk about the Golf R having Audi Light, well, basically, in my opinion, they're quite similar in the way that they drive. So run the numbers on the S3 and run the numbers on the Golf R and try them both and see which one you like. But an RS3, now that's a very unique proposition because no other Audi car has that engine. There may be some rumors that the Golf R might have that engine, but we'll have to wait and see. Which manufacturer has the best car culture and car clubs? Porsche and Corvette does an amazing job providing support and events to the members. I don't really know much about Corvette. I will just say that I think that Porsche is probably, it's quite interesting because I own like 5 BMWs, and you would go on to the BMW web forums, Roadfly, and then you would go on, and then I bought a Porsche, and then I went to the Porsche web forum, and the civility of the discussion was marked. It was really quite something. You had a very sort of like tuner, almost lowbrow kind of environment with the BMW crowd. You get into the Porsche crowd, it's very gentlemanly. Everybody's helping everybody else out. People are friendly and nice and complimentary, and it's a real good. It's like you guys, a good group of people. So I noticed that. Now, when it comes to the manufacturers, I just think that the culture around Porsche is it's pretty hard to replicate. It's the number one aspirational brand, meaning you ask 100 people on the street, if someone dropped a couple $1,000,000 in your bank and you can go and buy whatever you wanted, Porsche gets chosen more than any other brand. It's a brand, and especially with the 911, a car that people really aspire to own. And I think that Porsche plays a big part in promoting that. Hello from Quebec, Laurentians. Well, hey, Josh is back. Thank you, Josh. My friend sold his Mustang Bullet after 2 years and only took a $5,000 hit. Not bad considering many new ones are on lots with discounts on them. Well, that's good. So we're talking about cars with not much of depreciation. If you can have any sort of high performance car like a Mustang Bullet and only lose $2,500 a year in depreciation, that's not bad at all. Fun drone shots. Mike from Vancouver here, currently looking at a 12 to 17 Golf R. I need an automatic for the wife, but looking for a powerful small all-wheel drive car for the city. Well, there you go. You've made your decision. I think it's a damn good choice. If you can get a Mark 7 Golf R, that's what you should go for. Hey Zach, hope you're doing well. Yeah, because it would be. That was the only time it came in, right? Yeah, what am I talking about? Hey Zach, hope you're doing well. Always a big fan. Why do niche segment cars like the Civic Type R Super, Golf R, WRX, STI almost never have any incentives and very high interest rates? Well, because they don't bring them in with big numbers. These are not volume cars. They're not trying to sell, 100,000 of them like they do the Civic, right? Not the Civic Type R, but just the Civic. Like, these cars are the manufacturers will know what their allotment is for this, and they will say, okay, we're going to get, I don't know what the numbers are, I'll pick it out of the air. Maybe for the Civic Type R, they're only going to get anywhere from 300 to 500 cars, and the Supra is probably even less than that. The Golf R, I think, is under 1,000. So the dealers know that it's a finite resource, right? There's not a big number of them available. So they don't need to discount them because they know there's always going to be someone that wants them. Very different than just going in and buying a regular Golf. That isn't a finite entity. They're making more and more of them, which begs the question, why don't you make more of the higher performance ones? Well, because there's, it's a balance you have to strike between the number of enthusiasts and the number you're going to sell. And they try to always undersell, meaning you always want more demand than there are actually cars. That keeps the prices up. I think that's maybe the best way to describe it. What happened to your former co-host who kind of looked like Sandra Bullock? Lacey? Lacey, I think is who you're talking about. Lacey is still doing Lacey stuff. I haven't seen her. Boston Ma, hey, how's it going? When's the Cayenne diesel review coming? Dude, I've been busy. You know what's interesting with COVID-19? I've been busy doing lots of other stuff as well. So yeah, it's interesting because I drove it for the first time in a while. Here's an interesting thing. I filled up our Cayenne diesel on March 27th. What's the date today? The 24th. So almost 2 months ago. Do you know how much fuel is still in the tank? A half a tank. That's how little we're driving that car because of this whole COVID thing, right? So it shows you. So yeah, I drove it out to an event. Actually, I'm not sure if you watched the thing I did about Kia and the food bank the other day. I drove it out to that because I wanted to give it a bit of a run on the highway. And I was driving on the highway and I'm like, man, what a nice car. I'll get there. I think the 718 GT4 is way overpriced, $155,000 with limited options. You can get a 911 GTS for that, a used turbo perhaps, even a GT3. Well, Porsche knows that they have same thing, a very limited availability, and someone who just has to have it and has the money will spend it. There are those guys out there that will spend the money. They obviously know that. My car is at Clarkdale Volkswagen, just up the road from me, for warranty work, for intake manifold and suspension work. Been without a car for 3 days now. Well, at least the weather hasn't been too bad. Single malt is here. Well, I don't have a single malt today, but cheers to you. Hey, Zach, happy Sunday. Do you think Porsche will release a smaller, more affordable car than the Boxster Cayman? I thought I heard something about sharing a Volkswagen platform in the future. Thanks. There were rumors about that. The big speculation is the next, whatever it's going to be called, Cayman and Boxster, might be full electric. But yeah, you know, going back to the roots of having a 4-cylinder, entry-level, lower-priced car that they could platform share with Volkswagen would be kind of interesting. I don't think that would do anything for the brand, though. I don't, personally, as somebody who's into Porsches, I think that would be a terrible move for the brand. I mean, look what's happened with the 4-cylinder Boxster and Cayman. It has not been embraced by the Porsche community. So I don't think that would be a good move. Do you think infotainment screens are getting too big? Pretty soon we're going to have TV screens on our dashboards. It seems to be that most brands on the large side are going to 12.3 inches. That doesn't seem too bad. Of course, you've got the Tesla one that is much, much bigger than that. Then the 12-inch screen for the FCA Uconnect. That's about as big as I want. I've been on record talking about this. I don't want everything in a screen. I like buttons. I like screens and I like buttons. So this whole movement to getting everything into a screen and into a user face isn't better in my opinion. I think that for the hard keys that you use all the time, like hitting a button for your radio, hitting a button for your phone, hitting a button for your navigation, hitting a button, you know, all of those, Kia and Hyundai do this particularly well. They have their screen and underneath they have a whole row of hard keys. All the things that you use all the time, they're right there. So you want to go phone, you want to go navi, you want to go, it's just boom, it happens. BMW has gotten very good at this. So there's this big push to everything going on screens. I think there's going to be some brands will pull it back. I hope so. But I'm not sure if they're getting too big. Like the big 12.3-inch screen, we have the Highlander, I just took it back today, with the big screen in it. I thought that was pretty nice, actually. I'm just going through some of these because I'm obviously way behind. What's your preference, RS7 or RS6 Wagon? Both look so good. I think it's got to be the RS6 Wagon. I mean, if I could order one of those, I would order one of those. It would be a no-brainer. The thing just looks so badass. I mean, the RS7 is a fantastic car, but RS6 Wagon, I mean, so cool. I mean, I love an E63S Wagon too, but I think RS6 looks better. What are your thoughts on the 2021 Toyota Sienna? Well, you know, Toyota is pushing hard with electrification of their fleet. Now, when they talk about electrification, it's not Tesla electrification. They will have some battery electric vehicles coming, but their electrification is taking already efficient vehicles and making them more efficient by adding hybridization. And they've run the numbers on this. And they're a volume brand. Like Toyota's arguably month to month the biggest car company in the world, battling it out with you know, the Volkswagen Group and Nissan, Renault as the and Mitsubishi as the biggest brand, and General Motors in there as well. So all of these big companies. So if you have a massive brand like Toyota that can sell 25–30% of their vehicles as hybrids and reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 25 or 30%. That is a massive, has a massive impact on the overall tailpipe emissions and greenhouse gas emissions coming out of the back end of the car. So their theory is, instead of having 1 or 2% of people using zero amount of fuel, why don't we get 30–40% of people using a lot less? And it's a great way to go. So the fact that they're bringing vehicles with only hybrid, so Sienna's only hybrid, the new Venza is only hybrid, I think this is a trend we're going to see more and more of. Boston Ma is saying, hit the like button. Yeah, that'd be great. Like I said to you, I don't know what is wrong with the dashboard here. It says I have 27 people watching and 9 likes. I know there's way more than that here because I can see all the questions coming in. But yeah, hit the like button. Hey Zach, what are your thoughts on the 2.7 liter EcoBoost and the F-150 for daily driver towing 6,500 RV camper on the weekends? Yeah, I don't know the tow rating on that, but that sounds absolutely doable. I would suggest you go to Ford F-150 forum and read what other people have said about it. I have had comments from people who have it say they actually really, really like it. You know, the 3.5 liter is maybe overkill. I mean, it's got what, almost 11,000, 12,000 pound towing capacity. So yeah, I think that's going to be just fine. Also, if you have a chance, try the diesel. I mean, I'm not sure what kind of deals they've got on that right now, but that engine is fantastic. That is a beautiful engine. So quiet, so smooth, great towing capacity, amazing fuel economy. Just see what the price is on that, because I think there'll be some good deals on it. James from Toronto, what are your thoughts on the Lincoln Continental? I didn't love it as much as everybody else did. I thought it was okay. I mean, I didn't love it. I mean, compared to the Cadillac CT6, and I know the CT6 is going away or almost gone now, but yeah, I didn't love it. I didn't love the power seats, all the 30-way seats. I didn't find them that comfortable. There's a video of us doing a long road trip in it, and I appreciated it, and I appreciate the design, and I appreciate what they're trying to do with it, but it didn't speak to me. I would love to have a Cadillac CT6. I think the CT6 is a fantastic car. I have a Cadillac coming up next week, which I like. I always like getting Cadillacs. Used ML versus GLE. 50,000 miles. Any big difference or things to look out for? Well, one is just, you know, much newer technology, right? The later version of the car. Both were available with diesel engines. Both were available with 6-cylinder gas and V8s. I would say there's not a lot. Like, I mean, if you're looking at the last of the MLs and the first of the GLE, I mean, from 10 paces, they look the same. I don't think there's really a lot in it, to be honest with you. You know, get the best deal you can. Portuguese Water Dog, thanks for the video, by the way, Brian. Any news on the new BMW 3 Series wagon will be coming to Canada? I'll send an email. I'll write it down. Send an email. What was the, okay, I'm going to send a couple of emails. I'm going to find out about, I'm going to put A3 hatch. That's one I got to send an email on. And then what was the other one? Oh yeah, 3 Series wagon. And I will send that off to the PR people and see if I get any reply. Hey Zach, how do you feel about the ZF 9-speed transmission, long-term reliability, specifically the Honda SUV Passport Pilot? I don't know about the long-term reliability. What I will say is the first efforts by Honda with the ZF 9-speed were tragic. They were terrible. I remember driving the Pilot. You can go back and watch the video, and I was like, do not buy the top touring model. Buy the EXL or whatever the hell it's called, the one with the 6-speed, because a proven tried transmission. The 9-speed was terrible. Now, what I'll say is, over the years, I've gotten back in their products, whether it's Acura or Honda, and driven the 9-speed, and the results are much, much, much better. Because you've got to know, when ZF makes a transmission, they then hand it over to the car company for them to tune it and calibrate it with their engines. So a vast majority of how you feel the transmission working is a form of software and updates. And car companies can vastly improve the way their transmissions feel through software updates, and that's what I'm feeling when I drive the later Honda and Acura vehicles. Like I drove the MDX with that 9-speed in it. It was absolutely fine. I didn't find any issue with it at all. So they seem to have sorted it out. When it comes to reliability, I will leave that to you to do a little more research and go to some web forums and find out about it. But they've improved them. If you're talking about older ones, if you can find a Pilot with the 6-speed, that might be the way to go. T. Lau, cheers, Zach. Having a local draft beer tonight by Henderson's. Something worth to try when you get a chance. I don't know that one. I'll have to try it out, but I'll cheers to that. What's the future of cars with coronavirus economic crisis? Well, the car companies are still going to be releasing the cars. I just read an article about the Mach-E, the Mustang Mach-E, the full electric crossover that Ford is coming out with, delayed. They were going to have it in market this calendar year. They've now delayed it to next calendar year. I think that we will see some delays by car companies, but the wheels and the motion of these changes in the vehicles that are supposed to be coming happened years ago, right? It's really hard for car companies and for the people that are tooling and making the parts. They're all gearing up for the next model to come. So things will come. They could be a little bit delayed, but there's always going to be new product. And new product is what's going to stimulate interest for people to buy. So car companies will introduce new models in order to get people to spend. What's your thought on a 2014 Bach, Porsche Cayman with about 30,000 mileage? Does that particular model have any issues? No, it's a very good car. I would suggest that you have to please get it inspected by somebody that knows Porsches. I'm not sure if you're talking about the Cayman or the Cayman S. If you could spring for the Cayman S, it's a big difference, okay? You go from the 2.7 liter, I believe it is, up to 3.4 liters. You get the better brakes. So yeah, please, even though it's got low mileage, please have it inspected by somebody that knows Porsche cars. But overall, reliability is really quite good. It amazes me how many people shopping for a car don't do thorough research. It's true. I get this all the time. People ask me questions about cars and what have you, and they're asking after they've bought the car. I'm like, why don't you do the research before you buy the car? I can tell you how many people buy a car without even driving it. I think it's crazy. I would never buy a car without driving it. That's nuts. Here's a good question. Hey, Zach, when you're reviewing a premium vehicle, what details are you looking to criticize according to the price? Greetings from Lima, Peru. For me, a lot of it comes down to materials, fit and finish, and the way the car is put together. One trend, a bad trend I'm seeing in the auto industry is lower parts of doors. They're going back to inexpensive hard plastics. You know, the brand that always had very nice lower door cards was BMW. They had this sort of rubberized material that was soft. And people say to me all the time, well, why do you care if it's hard plastic or not? Well, you get in and out and you kick that with your feet and they scratch. And inexpensive hard plastic scratches and shows its wear really quite quickly. And then the softer stuff holds up better. So that's one trend I'm seeing is brands are going backwards on that kind of stuff. So materials, fit and finish, those sorts of things, are really kind of what you're looking for at a premium car. Because as I mentioned earlier, what makes a luxury car? Is it features? You can get all the same features in a non-luxury car that you can in a luxury car. If it's just a list of features, all manufacturers have all of the latest goodies. It amazes me how many people shopping for a car don't do thorough research. They go on what they know 10, 15 years ago. Back to your point a moment ago, absolutely. But these are things that take so long. It's prejudices, right, that people have. Like, for example, I drive domestic cars on a regular basis. I'm here to tell you, domestic car companies can make some excellent products. Some of them are very, very good. But a lot of people won't even look at them because they're domestic. And I could put you in a car and you'd be like, oh, I didn't know it drove like that. But yeah, I suggest that people go in with their eyes open, do the research and try, because there's some excellent products out there. Looking for a mid-size rugged SUV, Jeep Cherokee, Honda Passport, Subaru Forester Sport. Jeep Cherokee, Honda, what about, yeah, the Forester Sport would be pretty good. A mid-size rugged SUV. It's kind of, because a lot of them are sort of like, they're soft roaders. They're not really off-road. I would say the Forster's pretty good. The Passport is a soft roader. The Cherokee, of course, you can get it with the trail-rated editions. Yeah, so the Cherokee is one that's the interesting thing about Jeep, is that they offer so many different engines, different grades of all-wheel drive. So if you're going to use it for that sort of thing and you want that size of vehicle, it's definitely one worth considering. What's your favorite color, car color? Mine is magma orange that you can get on the Mark 7 Golf R or 2007 GTI Fahrenheit. My favorite color for car, well, it's really interesting because some cars just look better in different colors. I had my first air-cooled 911 was in arena red. If you just look up Porsche 993 Turbo, kills bugs fast. There's a poster, the launch color for the car was arena red. Now mine wasn't a turbo, but I had an arena red. It looked fantastic in that color. And then they came out with the next car, which was the 996, and they also made it available with arena red. It looked terrible on that car. It just looked awful. So it's really unique to each car. I don't know, it's hard to say. My taste of colors have changed. We have a white car. I never in a million years thought I would own a white car. But now that I have a white car, I like it. It's really easy to look after. I quite like it a lot. All right, I didn't get to everybody, obviously, because we have a lot of people piling on here. It still says there's only 27 of you here, but I know there's more of you. Don't forget to go to Car Cost Canada, sign up using the promo code MOTORMOUTH. If you're going to be shopping for a car, anybody in your family, anybody you know, that's a resource that you should be using, and use the promo code because it opens up a bunch of free searches and it will definitely save you money if you're shopping for a car. If you want to get a picture through, go to your email, zack@motormouth.ca. That's ZACK@motormouth.ca or ZACK. Do not use CH or it won't get to me. All right? That's all the time we have. I'm going to go and eat pizza now with my Corona. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.